Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. This is Mohannad Alkalash. We are very excited to be a sponsor in the first virtual expo and summit in Oman, a future tech event that we are participating in as a CyberX. CyberX is your cyber awareness platform, and we are happy to be here with you talking about the Security Operations Center effectiveness and how to make your SOC more effective. So in the coming 20 minutes, I will try to explain and explore multiple angles about SOC and how to make it effective. So I will start with the presentation that I'm talking about. Mohannad Alkalash, this is myself, this is my account, this is my social media account. I have an extensive experience in cybersecurity arena, and I have built and witnessed a mega project in cybersecurity. Please feel free to reach out, add me, and I'm here always to support and reply to your inquiries. So our agenda for the coming 20 minutes is what is SOC, SOC myths and SOC maturity levels, building an effective SOC, and measuring effectiveness of the SOC, which is most of the organizations struggling on this. So as we start now, that it's not about if or when. The real question, are you aware and capable? Do your organization self-aware about the capability that they got, about the risks they have, and about the breaches is trying to be in your organization? So this self-awareness, self-organization awareness is very important, that CISO is always shed a light to the main audience and for the top management, talking about the Security Operations Center importance, cybersecurity importance, and how it might affect the business. And we're gonna see how it might affect the business. I'm gonna talk here about certain attacks happened in 2020, the Wild Pressure, the John Rat, Oil Rig. As you can see, the first one is targeting industrial, the second one was targeting email, the third one is about telecommunication. So from different segments, different targets, and different styles. As much that you are building your security capabilities, as much you are getting more sophisticated attacks. So this is the reality, this is the world that we live in. So as a management, if you don't really invest in your security now, I think that you need to really think over about this again. What is SOC? SOC is basically a facility where security staff monitor, defend, and proactively identify and mitigate your security risks. How mature are you so you can go through the ladder? It's not only a 3 screens on multiple offices and that's it, and people are monitoring the activities. It's not like this. It's the whole package. So Security Operations Center, at the beginning, that it will start to monitor, then moves to defending the security breaches. Lastly, that based on your maturity of your organization, will start being from reactive mode to proactive mode. And this is every single organization are trying to have. The SOC myths. Basically, technology is a silver bullet. Yes, technology is important, is one of the main pillars, but it's not only the thing. That you need to have the right processes and procedures, and you need to have the skilled people. So you need to understand what technology are you procuring and what the technology that are doing in your organization, and then you can move among the ladder. But there is no single box will secure you. This is reality. SOC jobs for juniors. SOC jobs, it varies. It has multiple jobs, multiple duties. It's not for juniors only. It's for everyone. It needs some sophisticated skills, so they need to do this SOC jobs. Collect everything. You need to be careful of what you are collecting, because as much you are collecting, as much you are expecting false positive. So you need to identify and really pick what you need. Outsource SOC along with the responsibility and risk. Everyone now is talking about managed services. So managed services nowadays, yes, it's a viable option and you are really transferring the risk, but that still your neck in the line. You need to be involved. Your company reputation is there, so you need to understand what's going on with this outsourcing company. Building an effective SOC. Building an effective SOC, we are talking here about people. So people, as you can see, there is multiple job duties that I'm gonna shed a light quickly about it. That we have the tier 1 analysts and tier 2, tier 3, and SOC manager. And there is security engineers, but usually security engineers, they are not really related to SOC, but those job roles are specifically to SOC. So in tier 1, basically it's alert investigator. Tier 2 is incident responder. Tier 3 is the subject matter expert, which is the threat hunter. This is the main thing. And for the SOC manager, he's the commander of the SOC. He is the point of contact. He knows the defensive and offensive strategies. For the subject matter expert, this team or this guy will conduct the vulnerability assessments and penetration testing, and he knows how to do some threat hunting on his organization. And from tier 1 and tier 2, I think it's a self-explanatory that in tier 1, it's the fourth frontliners that they will receive the alert and start acting upon it. The tier 2 is the incident responder that they need to take an action and start perform deep analysis and correlations. Now the maturity level of each organization when it comes to SOC. There is 5 categories. These 5 categories is the initial, developing, defined, managed, optimizing. The initial, they are the minimalists, that they have the antivirus, firewalls, everything is okay, security is not the top concern, we don't have a dedicated budget for it, so we're gonna live on the minimal. And developing in reactive mode. Whenever the breach happened or the security incident happens, they will start to react. Defined, concerned that we are at risk, but budget is always tight, it's always a problem, so we need to prioritize the alerts and how we can face them. The advanced, the managed is advanced, which they have a dedicated budget to invest in security. They are very sophisticated. They have a very mature SIM and it's integrated and covering most areas, but they have limited resources in terms of personnel. Optimizing is the security mature, that they are knowledgeable about security, they are in continuous enhancement, they innovate and improve program, and sometimes those organizations have even an academy for cybersecurity. So I think you can categorize your company from what you are seeing now. So it depends on the maturity, and it's always about management support and management direction. If the management want to support the CISO, so they will support him and give him a lot of resources. So the CISO's job here is to make sure how to relate the security risks to business. This is always the golden rule. Building an effective SOC. So first of all, that you need to know your maturity level, which is one of the things that we have explained. Know your environment well, that you need to have a visibility about what do you have in terms of assets, what's going on in your environment, and you can monitor and you can understand what's going on in case of something like suspicious happens or there is an abnormal activities. Classify your data and define goals and use cases. It's always about documentation. You need to have a defined goals and rules, and you need to have a written use cases, which it will save a lot of efforts and save a lot of improvising in case of incident. Consider the managed security services providers, which is what we talked about. You always need to manage the contract very well. You need to have a defined service level agreement, a defined operation level agreement, and you need to make sure that your team is involved. You cannot let the MSSP work alone or work in silo. It's not something that you drop from your shoulder and go to different tasks. So you need to be involved. Building an effective SOC in terms of technology, you need to know how the licensing scheme of the vendors is working. And CyberX, that we have CyberX software, and we are pleased and happy to support you if you need that. One of the things that we do, that we don't license per user or we don't license per event. We license per the platform. So there is no hidden cost, there is nothing. There is some vendors, they always have a hidden cost. So you need to be aware about this. The scalability and timeline of the solution, log compatibility and integration, the analytics and correlation engine, how sophisticated is the correlation engine, it's very important. Are your systems covering the threat intelligence and artificial intelligence? Now, most of the new technologies, it has the threat intelligence and AI is built in. So you need to check about this as well. Definitely the visualization, dashboards, and reporting, you have to have an executive report, you have to have a technical report, and you need to have a root cause analysis, etc., etc. The ease of deployment and resource utilization, it's very important. Data retention period, so you can plan the storage level and you need to align with the standard that you are following. Vendor support is definitely one of the major things that you need somebody on site, you need somebody who's helping you and at least speaking your language. So this is very important. This is a dashboard, how it looks like. This is, by the way, CyberX SIM. You can visit us in our booth that you can check the CyberX software and awareness software that we have, and I'm sure that the team will give you a great understanding about our solutions and services. Developing an incident handling and response plan. It has to be written. You need to talk about the incident and you need to establish this from the beginning, because you need to identify related to incidents, causes, consequences, business impact, perform incident pattern analysis to correlate separate events. It's very important. Now, when we talked about the incident response cycle, that this is NEST. NEST is one of the most esteemed standards around the globe, around the world, that it defined into 6 categories: preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. And the preparation is review and codify the underlying security policy and start building the security management policies. The identification, that you need to identify and perform a risk, you need to perform a risk assessment so you can understand how to prioritize the security issues and identify the most sensitive assets in your organization. In the containment, that you need to create a communication plan, prepare documentation, it's clear and brief, and state the roles, responsibilities, and the processes. In the eradication, that you need to identify in the containment as well, that there is 2 things. There is the short-term containment and there is the long-term. The short-term is whenever the issue happens, that you need to isolate the network segment. In the long-term containment, that you need to apply temporary fix. In the eradication, that you will go and check the root cause analysis and you need to perform a removal from the source of the issue. Then you need to recover, and definitely you always need to document the lessons learned. This is the cycle of NEST. I try to explain it quickly so it might be beneficial for you. Again, standards are putting there. It's kind of reference. If you have something in mind, or if you have different business logic, then definitely you can customize and you can tailor whatever you want. The building incident response playbook, you need to set the rules, action to be executed when triggered by events, and bridge gap between policies, procedures, and security automation and operation. How to build the open source. There is an open sources. We're gonna share with you, if you can, if you are interested, we can share with you some open sources playbook that it can be beneficial for you and your organization. And I'm gonna share a sample now in the next slides that how's playbook looks like. There is this is a very straightforward case, which is phishing. So if you can start from the left hand side, from start there is a suspected email received. You will evaluate the email. If it contains URL or attachment, you will check the attachment, or you're gonna check the URL. If you have something wrong on this email, you're gonna delete it. If no, just email to notify and thank you user. That's it. It's very pretty much straightforward, but it's very beneficial in case something happens, in case there is a new hire, in case there is it's a process. Basically it's a procedure that everyone will follow. So it takes you from the very straightforward cases like this into very complicated cases. So it's very important you have it documented. Now this is how to measure the effectiveness of your SOC. In the old days, there are always two terminologies that we always hear about, that mean time to identify and mean time to contain. But it's very it's at that time we were very passionate about this and start putting the numbers and start to make it lower and lower. The number of reported incidents and handled rated properly. This is always the case, that it does not mean if the numbers goes down from year to another year, that means that you are doing good job. Sometimes it means that you are not seeing other activities are happening in your environment. You are not aware at all. It might there is a big breach there and you have no clue there is a breach on the other side. So we are suggesting a better metrics that it comes from two aspects or two folds: the configuration and operational confidence. From configuration confidence, that how confident are you in your controls and technologies? Are your controls are running? Basically, are they working? Because sometimes that you're gonna figure, you're gonna be surprised how many organizations that they just configure the box and leave it for almost 5 years, 10 years. No one is checking about the system. Is it configured based on the best practice of the vendor? How many features are used? And the percentage of traffic visibility. Traffic visibility is always the main thing about the configuration. If you see your environment properly, that you can take a good action about what's going on. The operational confidence, it's can you handle attack when it happens? This is very important. Are your analysts, how are you utilizing your analysts per hour? Sometimes SOCs, there is a lot of SOCs, there is only one guy is doing the job, which is it's not the best practice or the best case. Are you receiving duplicate incidents? If you are receiving duplicate incidents, there is definitely a problem in the configuration and fine-tuning of your systems. Alerts for known threats and deviation from SOC procedures. You shouldn't have many ad hoc incidents. It might happen once, twice, but more than this, that you need to involve and put it in the playbook. That I will give you just an example. As you can see from this figure, that it's a comparison between the old times and the suggested metric, that in the old times or the normal cycles, that the analyst is taking a lot of time to identify the issue. Then it start moving forward to investigation briefly, then it will get into mitigation. So as you can see that the investigation period, or the time that the analyst is investigating is not really quite enough. As you can see on the suggested metric, that the identification is pretty much straightforward because all the systems are configured based on best practices. The investigation part, it takes a good amount of the analyst, which is what's supposed to be. And the mitigation, it will be again straightforward because there is a playbook for each and every incident that you can think of. So the analyst can take the action immediately. So I'm gonna read this, which is the more likely we are to assume that the solution comes from the outside, the less likely we are to solve our problems ourselves. So you have the main three pillars, which is the people, technology, and processes. It's an interrelated relationship. You cannot be good in technology alone, and you can't have people, skilled people alone. And you cannot have putting a processes alone, that it has to be interrelated relationship. So at the end of my presentation, that I hope that I try to explain the SOC and how to make the SOC more effective and how to measure this effectiveness, as simple as that as could. And we are welcoming you in CyberX booth. We are very pleased and happy again to be with you guys talking about cybersecurity, and cybersecurity awareness is very important, and it's our goal, and it's our uh, belief that everything starts with awareness. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share our accounts on social media, and feel free to reach me anytime. And thank you for listening. We are very excited to be here and looking forward to meet you in our booth. Thank you, and Assalamu alaikum.